And we're live. This is the Awakened Mind show. I'm Sean.
I'm Tyler. So Sean, I started a new show called Mad Men, and it's based off like the '60s. Okay, and so these guys so the show is about like these men who basically work in this like big building. I think it's like 13th floor building. I'm not don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure. And I think they're in New York, and their whole thing is like they do advertising for companies. So like if a company has like a product or a brand, they'll advertise that product. But it's crazy because like I'm watching the show, dude, and like the way they don't treat women bad, but the way that they talk about women in the show and the way they view women, it's like it's way different than now. Like there's an episode I watched where there was like a what was it, lipstick. There was a lipstick product. They were going to advertise, and it's like you're watching it, and it's all these men like they're sitting around the table like trying to advertise this lipstick product, and you're like, dude, what are men like doing advertising lipstick? Like obviously like now today you have like all these famous like brands, lingerie, all that stuff. It's a woman leading that brand, you know what I'm saying? So it's just crazy how like back then, because I'm pretty sure like I'm watching the show, like it's based off the '60s. It seems accurate, and then you look at like I was looking at things online, and it's like yeah, it was really like that. Like men would lead the show, and then like even like you in the show like they show like their at home life, and like the woman's at home, she's like taking care of things at home while the man goes to work, and then like the women that are in the office, they're like typewriters and stuff. Like they're the helpers to the men. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I guess back then they weren't, quote unquote, allowed out of the kitchen yet, or allowed out of the home. When was, that actually makes me think. When were they allowed to start voting?
Women?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know, dude. I think it's like early 1900s, right? Maybe I'm way off. Let's see.
Rock the vote.
I'm probably way off, dude.
19th Amendment. 1920.
Oh, no, I was first. Hey, I was good.
There you go.
Yeah.
Certified 42 years later. So it was first introduced 1878. So I mean, all around the world, I think women and children have different things that they're allowed to do or whatever in their society. So for America, 1920, that's when they were allowed to start voting, and probably, soon after that, they were allowed to start doing a little bit more and more. Obviously, now they can pretty much do whatever, same as men. Men and women definitely have things that they're generally better at, right? And then not all of them love to hear that, but that's just facts. I mean, men generally have, I think it's like 20% more muscle, than women. That's just how it works, right?
Yeah.
So, then you look outside of our country, I mean, there's still women getting, beat for showing an inch of skin kind of a thing. So, thankfully we're progressive enough to get it to where we're pretty even. Yeah, I guess last time it wasn't a motorcycle. It was, Alexa said it was a jet.
Oh, really?
Like an actual jet, just like flying around.
Whatever. No, so okay, let me ask you, what is okay? Do you? Well, let's start with here. Would you vote for a woman president?
I would. It needs to be. This topic is so silly because it's like, it's. Let me vote for the person based off of what they look like or their sex or whatever, right?
Sure.
If they're the right person, all for it. So right now, Trump just took it. Trump is in office now.
Okay.
Big spotlight on Tulsi Gabbard. Honestly, man, I can see her being a president. Like I would easily I would easily be able to vote for her. You look back at Kamala or Hillary. Hillary I think was a lot more captivating than Kamala, but still, there would be no way that I could vote for them, especially versus the other candidate. What about you? You vote for women?
Well, it's hard. I don't know. Because part of me says, yeah, I mean, women, like, look, this isn't a podcast. We're not saying women are wrong. Like, it's not about that. I'm just trying to see, well, basically, we're trying to dissect, like, how women today are viewed in the world. What's the, and kind of get our opinions on that matter as well. And I don't know. I don't know. Because, like, women can't be on the front line in the military. Do you think that's right? Do you think it's wrong? And am I accurate on that? Let's make sure I'm 100%.
I was about to say, can they
Yeah,
not?
I don't think so.
So like what, Marines?
I don't think they can be on the front line. Could be wrong. Let's find out.
Yeah, no, they can serve on the front line.
Okay. Do you think they should be able to?
No.
Really?
No. I mean, you can get the most badass woman out there. Let's say she boxes, right?
Sure.
And she's a kick-ass boxer, top of her class for women. You can get like an average guy that boxes, and he can generally destroy her. I mean, that's just so you put a woman in that scenario, and there is a disadvantage. Maybe she's better than some male counterparts, but the odds of that happening is a lot lower than just having men doing that physical task. So, like, if this house started burning down right now, do you want a woman that weighs half of your size in here, and hired just because she's a woman, or do you want somebody that you can feel if you're unconscious, they could pick your ass up and run out of the house? That's a no-brainer. Go to bed. Go to bed.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I see what you're saying. Okay, but what if this woman, she passed all her tests? She went through all the training.
There's many cases where the tests are actually reduced for what's required because of them being a woman. Like, that should never, if it has to do with saving somebody's life, the test requirements should not be lowered ever.
So you don't agree that, like, say the Marines, the qualifications to pass boot camp it should be the equal. So if let's say a man has to do 20 push-ups, you think a woman should have to do 20 push-ups type thing? It should be the same.
Yeah, I mean, it should definitely be the same across the board. It shouldn't be lowered for any reason. If it is a job that requires somebody being physically fit.
Yeah, I don't know. That's hard because you in the we're talking about the military right now. Well, the military is used not just for battlegrounds. You have medics. You have all types of sorts of things. Basically, everything you can probably think of in the military. That they say like especially like the Vietnam War, Iraq War. Like actually, like only like 20% of like our military actually hits the battlefield, and a lot of it's like actually behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
So like, you think for those positions, a woman should still have to go through the same boot camp and training?
I mean, I don't know the intricacies of, if they're not in the front line, what are the odds that they might have to some extent, be put in that situation? Let's say, like, we're actually at war, homeland, right? Like, we'll be right back. I need to take my dog out. Jesus. Today is rough. Come on. Let's go. Let's go. Oh, perfect timing. Can you take them out, please? All right, we're back. Dogs are out of the room. Yeah, so, the need for them to have the same requirements may not make sense in perfect scenarios, but if we do go to war, and some of those roles may actually have to go behind enemy lines or anything like that, where normally they're not Normally they're not there, but what if it's needed? I mean, I don't know. I'm not a specialist when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, in general, you're basically saying that it should be the same. It should be equal.
Yeah, no, it's
Okay, so let's talk about the woman's, like, what do you believe? Do you think woman should be, a man should be basically working and the woman stays home? What do you think should be, in your opinion?
so you have kids.
Sure.
Um, who do you think naturally is more nurturing, you or your wife?
Oh, my wife, 100%.
You know, I think men can be nurturing, and whatever level, you know, we see that as, but I don't think it's ever going to be as intuitive as a typical women's approach to nurturing. And like they barely even have to think about it; they just do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think men can do some of that too, but it's just not at the same level as women. You know, I don't have kids; I have puppies right now, but you know, once we got them, I definitely felt a new level of attention or care towards other things, right? Um, but it's still, my wife is like definitely over the top when it comes to that stuff to make sure everything's good. Like I'll kind of wing it, and she'll kind of have like a science to it, kind of a thing, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I would fall apart without my wife. I don't know what I would do. Yeah. But for me, I guess I'm asking, do you think that it's proper for women to work? Why? Okay, here. Should the man make more or should the woman make more? What do you think?
I think they should make whatever their job allows. I mean, this whole argument, women make less, you know, we can really get into politics.
Uh huh.
There's many reasons why that's the case, but it's not a face value they make less. It's because they have, in general, less demanding jobs, less prestigious jobs, and then they just inherently make less because of that. Then there's also, you know, a good portion of them that are at home. And to answer your question, in a perfect world, if I can support my family and we have the lifestyle that we would like, yeah, no, I think the wife would stay home, and she would actually really agree with that too, if she could stay home and raise kids and all that kind of stuff. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, it's interesting too because like you think about back 60s, 50s, the wife would stay home, man would go to work, and then he would come home, and she'd have dinner on the table. But now with like the economy and everything going on in society, it's almost like we're forced to have to work, the man and the wife, just to survive.
I mean, the dollar definitely doesn't go as far as it used to. You know, everybody knows inflation. You know, don't know the exact amount from, let's say, the 60s to now, but it's definitely, it definitely doesn't go as far as it used to. You know, my salary and my wife's salary, I would say, is above average, and we still feel like we're like barely making it. And yeah, there is some lifestyle to that, but you know, when we were, let's say, just 10 years ago, right, making like $30 an hour, damn, dude, we're killing it. $30 an hour, that's great.
Yeah.
Now we're making, quite a bit more than that.
Mm-hmm.
But it just seems like the traditional, at least traditional American style of living. It's I don't know how people that make less than 30 nowadays do it. I have no idea.
Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah. So, okay. So I have friends at work, and they're very traditional. And basically, so I find this interesting because I want to see what you think about this. So say you take your wife to your family outing. In this tradition, you would sit down, your wife would go get the food, and she'd have to serve you. So in this culture, your wife serves you. And if you get up and get food, it's very disrespectful. And your mom's going to get mad at the wife. What do you think about that?
Amen, brother.
What do you think? What do you think about this, Sean? I want to know what Sean thinks about this.
I think every culture's going to be different, right? But I think men and women can serve each other, and it shouldn't be seen as a bad thing. I mean, culture is going to be culture, but for the modern day or modernized side of these cultures, I think it's becoming more allowable for this kind of stuff to happen. But I mean, for the older generations, boomer or older, I mean, they're still going to be stuck in those ways, right? So, I don't mind getting my wife whatever. We really don't have any kind of strict culture. It's just kind of loose American culture, right? But um, she'll also, go out of if we go to like events and stuff, she'll go out of her way to get me a beer or the appetizer or
Yeah.
whatever, right? It's not like I require it of her. She just does that. She knows that it keeps us both happy, kind of a thing. But yeah, that being a requirement, I mean, it'd be nice, but but yeah, it's just not how like today works because they're not. Most women are not stuck at home with the kids only doing the house duties. They're doing just as demanding jobs as us, if not more sometimes, right? So
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Okay, so if a wife's a stay-at-home wife and you're working full-time, does she have a full-time job?
Wife is stay-at-home wife, and I'm working full time.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's something that needs to be discussed between the marriage or between the relationship.
Well, okay, no. What I mean is do you think her being at home, staying at home, taking care of the house is a full-time job? Sorry.
I mean, yeah,
So you
right.
say it's a full-time
So
job?
I guess the way I was thinking about that. So yes, I would say that's a full time job. But
Uh-huh.
when the guy comes home, yes, he should be able to do X, Y, or Z things at the house. Just because she's home doesn't mean that he would be not that he wouldn't have to do anything, right?
Uh-huh.
Like there's still some kind of a give and take there, but in general, I mean, if she's at home, yeah, dinner should probably be ready or something along those lines, right? Like it's not just she's home and then as soon as he's home, she's off. Like that's she should have more household roles than what he would have to do.
So you think that basically the rules should be discussed? Like, hey, if you're gonna stay home, this is part of your expectation, ABC type thing.
So
Like basically,
I would see it the same as like finances or stuff like that. So before you get married,
yeah.
maybe everybody doesn't do this, but I think nowadays it's becoming more popular to keep finances separate. I don't think you agree with that. Maybe you'll speak after I say mine, but we had different financial situations, but going into marriage, I mean, that's you're tying everything together, and finances is one of them, right? So, how'd you guys do that?
We've had a joint account
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah, and that's I like even my cousin. I mean, they had a separate account, and I just always saw that as an easy way to say like, oh, you're doing too much here, or whatever, or like even in our household right now, we both work a lot.
Yeah.
And chores, right?
Uh-huh.
The house has chores, no matter how many people live in it,
Uh-huh.
and trying to split that evenly across both. If you maybe lack in one chore because you think you're getting something else done, and vice versa for the female. The other person's like, well, what the heck? You had your stuff you're supposed to do. Why aren't you doing them?
Yeah.
Now I have to do them. Now I'm pissed off and tired and all this stuff. But yeah, I don't know. It's just coming to an agreement of like what should be the case before you're in the situation.
Yeah. Okay, so let's say let's say you're dividing the bills, and the wife can't cover the bill, like her bill or whatever, that portion of the month. Do you help her, or do you like say that's your type thing? Because I know you kind of just said that you have a joint account, right? Well, what do you think? Do you think she needs to be like lifting her own weight?
So if we didn't have a joint account, you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that again comes down to the people.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kind of go back to my cousin again because I've seen a lot of that style from him. And it definitely can add stress to the situation. If you've got your finances covered and then your spouse just blows money for on something that you don't agree with, and
Mm-hmm.
now you're having to pick up the slack, I'd say it's the same as chores. You don't want to have to do the extra 2 loads of laundry because they decided to go sunbathe or something, right? Like,
Yeah.
why?
Yeah. 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 It's interesting. So, do you think men are more feminine today in marriage? Would you say they're more, I guess, soft?
So I think the traditionalism is almost out of the window.
Really?
Strong men still have quite a bit of it, I think, but it is softened. Um, I would say for the majority. Then there's probably a minority that's growing in our generation and lower that don't have as much as that traditionalism, the strong, alpha, the protector, all that kind of stuff. I think a lot of that's going out the window. Hopefully that changes because people see that men and women should be equal, but again, they definitely have their places and things, right? So like, yeah, in a household, a man and woman could choose to make decisions together, but then you're going out to the movies and somebody tries to steal her purse or your cell phone while you have it, right? So who should be the one to act in that situation? I think everybody says a man should,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But nowadays, I don't really see that as like a common thing anymore. I think there's everybody's scared or they just I don't know, the traditionalism just isn't there.
Hmm. All right. Would you say women are more emotional than men?
It's kind of funny you asked that.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday I did a Reiki session and brought up something that's causing stress, and then it caused me to be emotional for a second. And as being a man, can't have that, right? Especially in front of a stranger that I just met, right? So I went to clear that up, and she basically said, you need to allow that to happen. You need to feel. You need to not be afraid to show it. That kind of stuff. And my wife and mother-in-law and other people I know have said the same similar thing, where it's like we have we hear this toxic male thing all the time, right? But I think it's usually meant towards like a negative thing from the feminist movement. But the real toxic male trait that most traditional men have because of the way they were brought up is you don't show emotion. You have to be the rock.
Mm-hmm.
You can't cry. You can't make uh, erratic decisions based off of something that causes emotional sensations. I mean, anger, I guess, would be part of that, and that's it's not always welcome, but it's always expected. Like men getting angry, women just expect that, and I think men expect it too. I mean, that's just a reaction. Like we get frustrated, we just get pissed off, right? But being able to show, you're sad about your dog passed away or something, like
Uh-huh.
you're supposed to hide that for the family. Like that's supposed to be what you do. Or you're at a funeral and you have to hold it together for your
Sure.
family, right? So
Yep.
like one of the funerals I went to, I held it together until I saw, my sister and mom look at me and they're bawling, and then I just start going, had it until they looked at me. But um, that inherent like rule, like we're not supposed to show that kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Okay, so where do you think this comes from? Does it come from the father, or does it come from just a natural thing of when men? Because you know how like if men get around each other, everybody's trying to like one size each other up. You know what I'm saying though,
Yeah.
and especially in like a workforce or type thing. So where do you think this comes from? Does it come from like the way your father raised you, like like for instance, like my daughter and my son. I always thought that when I was gonna have kids, that I was gonna raise them the same. I was like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna raise them the same. I'm not gonna have favoritism or anything like that. Let me tell you, dude. Like the way I raise my daughter is completely different than the way I raise my son. Now that I'm a parent, I know like yeah, like my daughter's a princess, and my son, I'm raising him to be a man one day. So I have to be a little different with him. Hard, you know what I mean?
I don't want to joke about your son, but at least other people's sons might be sons and not princesses as well. Hopefully, we figure that out going forward. To each their own when they're older, but yeah. Anyway,
Daddy Trump.
um,
Yeah. So what do you think?
So I think before we talk about sexes, I think everybody, no matter the person, needs different energy, needs different guidance, right? So
Yeah.
everybody's brain works a little bit different, and you can have a independent, free thinker, right, on one side, and then you can have a reserved, almost confused, or I guess a non-free thinker, right? So they need to ask the opinion of somebody else that they trust or respect to validate possible options that they're thinking of. Then there's like no confidence with that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So for kids, I don't have my own, but I definitely think that there would be a different approach to both. Of course, everybody's I love all my kids the same and all that kind of stuff, but I don't think it's about loving them differently, because I think you're giving them ideally the same amount of love, but
Yeah.
in different ways, right? And you clearly see that, but
Yeah.
I can relate that to people I've worked with in the past, right? So one person's totally cool, you can talk about whatever, doesn't really get pissed off, and then you have somebody that's a little touchy about this, maybe not confident about that. You go to do the task, and one is definitely, you don't really have to help guide them through the process, and another one you have to like hold their hand throughout it. It's just, there's always going to be different brains out there, different consciousness going on, and you have to get the same or near the same result, you have to put in different energies into them.
Yeah. I'd agree. Yeah. Yeah.
We're not allowed to agree on
Yeah.
podcasts.
Okay. So, what do you think it's healthy for a man to be like, say, hardcore? Is it healthy for?
Do you mean like alpha?
Sure. Yeah. Alpha and emotionless. Is it healthy?
Oh, well, I think it has its places, but with today's with how today's society works, there is a movement to kind of push to allow for feelings, and I think that's fine. But if that's at the detriment of a man being a man or being alpha, especially in the situations that's needed to guide, the family or group, that's not a good thing. So if they're so emotional to where they can't function, clearly that's not good. But if you can be if you can be in touch with yourself, understand yourself to where it's not causing, maybe if you understand yourself better, you don't get angry, right, and make the irrational decisions. But if you keep the side that you can still tap into the big strong man whenever you need to, then that's the perfect scenario, I think.
Yeah. It's hard to balance that. I would say it's hard to balance that.
Yeah, and I guess going through that process, which I think both of us probably have to some extent, just saying that you're going through that process is a challenge. Like from a guy to guy, I've told you things that I probably wouldn't tell other guys, right? Like
Yeah.
there's just stuff like, as a man, you shouldn't be talking about. And again, that goes to like the traditional stuff. you asked about how did we get that, right? So yeah, I think part of that is how the father or even mother really treats their boys when they're younger. When you fall down and scrape your knee, do they say get up, stop crying, or do they
Mm-hmm.
rush over and pick you up? Are you okay, honey? All this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but then there's also, you know,
Oh.
outside of the direct family, you have the rest of the family or just school, right? If you're crying at school, you'll probably get called out for being a boy, but maybe it's okay for the girls to cry, right?
Yeah.
Like you're not going to really say much about that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, dude, I remember when my son was playing baseball last year. Dude, he got kegs by baseball. Like he was crying, dude.
yeah,
And it was interesting because it was so happened my wife wasn't at this game, but her mom was at the game, and I think her grandma too. And like I kind of lean on my wife a lot to like help me out and stuff like that. Cause we really feed off of each other a lot.
mm-hmm.
And dude, in that moment, I was looking at him crying. I'm like, hell no, bro. Like, I told her, I was like, yeah, hey, like, calm down, you're fine. I had to like use that stern voice, like it kind of just kicked in. And and he's pretty tough, dude. Like now, like he knows, like he knows.
I mean, so it's a learned behavior, right?
Yeah.
When we're babies, of course, we cry because we don't know how to communicate, right? So we cry.
Uh huh.
The parent has to guess what the heck we need. And then as you get older, stuff happens. You get frustrated, you cry, you fall down, scrape your knee, you cry, you break up with a boyfriend, girlfriend, you cry, right?
Mm-hmm.
I really think past being a baby or toddler to where they don't know how to communicate, it really comes down to, what the situation is, how can the parent guide the kid through that situation? Is it something that, maybe crying is justified if they feel like they lost someone, right? But is it really justified for scraping the knee? That's clearly not a mortal wound, right? I've been extremely bloody. Like I have. So I used to have when I was a kid. I used to have a mountain bike. Once I got that, man, I thought I was so cool, right? I could go so fast on a mountain bike.
Uh huh.
And then I was playing with my friends down the street, and one of their bikes, it's not a mountain bike, and we traded just for fun or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So the mountain bike, when you go backwards on the pedals, nothing happens, right? It just kind of unlocks whatever. You can just keep on going. On his bike, you go backwards. That's the brakes. And
Yeah.
we were racing, right? We
Uh-huh.
decided to race on the other person's bike, and
Yeah.
well, we were racing, man. We were top speed, and once I saw I was winning, I just relaxed. I was standing, but I relaxed and I put my feet backwards like I would on my mountain bike. And dude, I just launched like a missile towards one of the parked cars on the street.
Uh-huh.
But when I landed, both my knees got really scraped up. I mean, like not a little scratch, like they got tore up, man. Like I landed in glass, basically.
Yeah.
And I hobble home about 15 houses down. I hobble home, I'm crying, and my mom's like, "Oh my God, what happened?" There's like blood everywhere, right? And then my dad's like looking at the situation. He's like, Why are you crying? You better stop crying. That's not even that big of a deal."
Yeah.
So he's conditioned, especially in like the older times, right? He's conditioned to like you don't cry for bullshit, basically.
Uh-huh.
And the mom is being nurturing. That's because what they go to instantly.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I'll never forget that one. Like I was bloody, and then I'm like getting that from my dad. I'm like, why am I? Like I think I'm like dying, and then my dad's just like, "You better stop." I'm like, what's
Okay, I'm not dying.
I mean, I guess I'm good. Shit.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting. Okay, so you had probably had like the same type of childhood I did. So when I was growing up, I grew up in a court. Like almost every house, there was like.
I was at a court. Yeah.
Were you?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So every house, dude, I swear, like there was a kid, and we lived outside.
Yep.
And we went inside when the lights turned on. We were inside. And if we weren't inside, you better
You better be running.
Okay, so now I notice you don't see that anymore. And part of it is obviously because of safety. There's some creepy people out there.
Well, so but before we keep going on that,
Uh-huh.
do we think that there is less creepy people back in the day, or we just weren't aware of it as we are now,
Dude.
right? You had the old creepy guy in the van that everybody, maybe he wasn't even creepy, maybe he just looked weird and all the kids made fun of him, right? But nowadays you can't go walk down the street without somebody accidentally recording you, basically, right?
Sure.
So we just have so much information. I think everybody's like hyper saturated with all kinds of topics, and that's for sure one of them.
I think it's a lot is technology has made it where more stuff's out there.
Right.
And when you have more technology, you're seeing more evil, right? Because back then we didn't have phones. We didn't have.
Well, I mean,
I didn't have a computer. Dude. Like we were just outside. That was
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I mean, you
I mean,
see
there's a
more.
lot of
You see
games.
more. Yeah, you see more of like everything, but the fact that, but with one click, you can really delve into child predators, and now there's some like a famous one that everybody knows, and like it's just you can get pretty much any content you want, and that's just shining a light on I guess safety nowadays. So people don't want to take any risks, right? Which I think the not taking the risk thing kind of goes into the softening of our society. I mean, I think the risk is just the same, if not actually worse, back then because there's less cameras. It's easier to do that kind of shit. You go rob a bank when they didn't have cameras. You go rob a bank, you have a gun, you're good. Like,
Yeah, but okay, but my thing is like when we were growing up, we lived outside. We were pretty much carefree. I mean, it was like, we kind of I learned a lot about life just by being outside on the streets around my friends, and we did crazy stuff like.
whether good or bad, we learned a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we did, and then I get and like on the weekends I'd stay a night at my buddy's house. There was no problem. Like
Yeah.
now, it's like no, you're not. You can't go stay a night at someone's house, or if they want to stay a night, they have to come to your house, or like
And then are the parents okay with that, right?
yeah, and then it's like all this caution, and like even like I already see it. Like with my son or my daughter, like nah, like my son or daughter are not staying at anybody's house. They want to stay at come to our house.
And see, that's
It's-
I can definitely see the validity behind that. That's definitely how my wife is looking into it, especially because of the background that she has with law enforcement and sexual predators, essentially. But yeah, I grew up the same way, and honestly, man, I was one of the houses that everybody came to, and we'd have sleepovers, game all night.
Uh-huh.
We get some pizza and stuff like that, and just have fun and
Yeah.
carefree. But yeah, nowadays, I think I'm actually leaning towards the safer approach, I guess. But at the same time, like it kind of kills me because that takes away such a big part of being a kid.
Yeah.
Being free from the parents at the friend's house and literally kind of being yourself or discovering even who that is.
Yeah, I mean, so my son, he's 6, and there's not like in our immediate area, there's not a lot of kids. So and like that's part of it. But when I was 6, dude, I like drove all through my city, and that's probably because of my growing up was a little rough. But
You got a driver's license when you're 6?
dude, I had the cards. Like the little
Oh yeah.
on
you clip them to your
to the back wheel.
to the framing of
Yeah.
the back wheel. Then it hits the
Yeah.
what is it, the spokes?
Yeah.
And
Did you ever do the soda can? Dude, the
I
soda
think
can?
my neighbors did. I think I like the cards better.
Yeah?
They just get that really
Yeah.
going.
Yeah. But yeah, so there's no kids in the neighborhood, so like I'm like, dude, like how is this gonna affect him?
You get the iPad out, man. Now they're just used to that screen, right?
Yeah, but like because we've talked about this type of stuff. Like humans are naturally like better. We're supposed to be outside. That's our natural, place to be. Like don't be in the house. Be outside. Get in Mother Nature. Get with the world, basically. And it's like now it's like we're inside. pretty much all the time. You know, if you're going outside, it's like to go get groceries and stuff, and like I said, the
It's
kids.
to go to the car, to go to a place that's
Yeah,
probably inside.
and that's probably a lot to do with the hustle bustle of living in a city, right? Like we're kind of this is like our everyday thing, living in the circle of everyday. So I don't know. Maybe it's different if I moved out of California. I have no idea. I've thought about this a lot. Like, is it because I'm in a city
I mean, so
surrounded by industrial? You know what I mean?
so if we needed to drive somewhere to be outdoors in a in a setting that's kind of open and naturey, not just like a park. Like you go to like an actual outdoors area, we got to drive what half an hour, 45 minutes at least, right? To go into. I guess if we go down trails of like rivers near us or whatever, but there's a higher chance that there's going to be people there, right?
Yeah.
So gas prices. I mean, times are tough. I mean, I know you guys are decent in money, right? And it still like feels like we really have to watch finances, and that's just been getting worse every year. And
Yeah.
I mean, people don't want to spend 5% of their paycheck just to go on a 2-hour trip or something. Um, I don't know how it was when I was a kid, but I don't remember ticks really being a huge deal when I was a kid. Nowadays, I took the family dog, only a couple of years ago, took the family dog to a creek, in San Andreas, and we were running around. I was goaltending and stuff, and I saw one tick on like a blade of grass. It was like on the tip, like a ladybug's about to fly away off of it, right? But it's a tick. Like, oh crap! I'm noticing ticks. That's probably not a good thing.
Yeah.
We leave. I'm like, all right, we just need to get out of here because I don't want ticks on the dog. We get back. We had to get 30 ticks off my dog.
What?
Dude, it was rough, man. And I had to hold her. Like, she really trusts me. Really trusts me. I had to hold her while my dad is burning off every single one to get them off. And
Really?
that was brutal.
Dude.
But what I'm getting at is, were ticks that bad back in the day, or are they worse? I saw something on Rogan where ticks are, like in Maine, I guess they're out of control. I think for it was elk. Like elk has basically died off in Maine because of ticks.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they're that.
Yeah.
And that's making it to where I want to go out in nature and do stuff, but I got the pups, and of course I want to take them, but now I'm like, well, shit. If I take them somewhere, they're gonna be just have tick all, and I don't want to go through that. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, growing up, we drank out of a water hose. Not possible now.
The smart ones waited a second in the summertime.
Oh,
Let
dude.
the hose cool down, right?
Yeah.
I think everybody our age or older has experience. You go, man, you are thirsty from running around, racing, doing playing in mud, making whatever, right? And then you gotta go drink because, hey, the parents said, out when the sun's out, you're out.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like, and you don't go in and out of that door. Once you're out, you're out.
Oh yeah.
So you go to the water hose, man. You're thirsty, and I can't wait to get the water. You turn it on, it's not just hot. It tasted like chemicals. Like it was so bad, so bad. I don't know how we're alive, and there's probably worse things like that for our parents when they grew up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy, but that's shaped us to who we are today, and it's like, it's a fine line. It's like because we experience all these I would call it street things that I think a lot of kids aren't experiencing today, and it's how's this going to affect them? I don't know, and I don't know the answer. It's interesting to think about because my son, okay, he's not, I want to say he's not street cred or street smart, like he's smart, and I think as he gets older he'll get friends and he'll go out and everything. He's still young, but it's just different, like. And I hope that I'm not doing something wrong where I'm affecting him.
I feel like we're all going to mess up our kids somehow.
Yeah.
They just have to understand how to navigate through it as they become, conscious of like how they're interacting with life.
Yeah, it's just, man, it was wild growing up. It's just a different world.
It's definitely the Wild West. So you look at how COVID has affected kids, right? So for 1 year, all of a sudden they had to wear masks, they weren't allowed to do X, Y, and Z things, and
Yeah.
you know, who cares what side of the politics you're on? That is a huge change for a kid, especially in different age groups.
Mm-hmm.
It could probably really affect them differently, and I don't even think we really know the extent of how that's gonna mess them up. But us being able to be out, function on our own in a social dynamic where it's just kind of a wild card. You're out with all the street kids, and sometimes you don't get along with every kid either. And then you have altercations, whatever. But
Yeah.
it's given us social training um, that's unique to us and probably older generations. Where now, the younger the generations are, probably the less likely they are to have that street interaction. So now they have more screen time interaction. Okay, so maybe they're more technically inclined, which is a good thing, but not having the social interactions that really fed, how it taught us how to interact with everybody. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I brought the COVID thing up, because there's a year where like kids were not by other kids like at all.
Yeah.
Like at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm curious to see how that's going to affect that specific generation.
Well, yeah. There's a thing I was reading like when COVID was going on because they were having a lot of kids do like school at home and stuff. Like suicide rates went through the roof
For
just for depression. Like
for kids.
yeah, for kids.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So like probably teenagers.
Yeah. I mean, so it's just like well, obviously as humans we need that interaction. We need to be out the house.
Yeah,
You
it's
know.
being an extrovert and introvert. I feel like that's definitely a mixed bag for all of us.
Mhm.
But being completely away from all or most other people, that's definitely not good for either. Um, introverts like to be alone. They deal with people when they have to, kind of a thing, but it kind of depletes the batteries. And I'm an extrovert. If I'm not by people, like I'll get depressed. Like if I am not by people or get to go to like family events, and I just feel like I'm missing out.
Yeah.
And introverts are a lot more okay with that. But for
Well,
for both being completely away, that's literally against our nature. It's against our like DNA kind of
yeah.
thing.
Uh, I'm an introvert, and I think it's because of my upbringing. So I think that's had a lot of effect on that.
You want to elaborate, or is that another episode?
No, I think it's just 'cause, like for me, like I never had a stable life like growing up. I hopped a lot of houses, that sort of thing. So I kind of got used to like raising myself. So I never got attached to people. I guess in a sense I always was let down by my superior people like in my life. Whether whoever's watching me during that time, taking care of me at the time. Not to say that people didn't love me or take care of me, but just it's crazy because like I always thought I had a normal life. I thought I had a good life. I'm not complaining about my life.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe who I am today, but I look back like because even my wife, like I've talked to her about it and stuff. She's like, it's just like I did have a really crazy life. It wasn't a normal life, and I think it affects the way I treat people. Like, because like kind of like you, I would say, and not in a negative way, but I could be really emotional, like less with people. Like for me, like, because I've been through so many stressful situations. Like, get over it, dude. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you're fucking, you're fine. Like, stop. Like,
Yeah.
so I think I've got used to being alone, and I like people. I like getting out. Like my wife, she is the complete opposite of me. She has to be around people. She's very outgoing, and I love that. And I like it because it like gets me to get out of the house. But I'm perfectly fine, like sitting on my couch and watching like movies and by myself. Like
I think that the,
I'm
the
great.
the more the more I work and the more potential stress there is, the more I'm okay with just being at home.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, falling into that kind of a schedule where I'm just okay at being at home. Eventually, I'm like, man, I haven't seen people. I haven't seen people in a long time.
Uh-huh.
Like, I really need to go do something. Like, and then I'm okay with like, let's go do some outlandish shit just to be by people.
Yeah.
My, talking about upbringing. So my upbringing, um, there was always food on the table. I think times were tough sometimes, but I think I have a pretty average, if not slightly above average, upbringing when it comes to like stability.
Mm-hmm.
My parents are still together. Not a perfect relationship, right? I don't think anybody's is, but
Yeah.
um, they're still married, and um, I had a sister that's about 9 years older than me, so it's almost like having a second mom. So it's
Mm-hmm.
very like there was a lot of structure there, too much for my young self. I didn't love all that structure, but
Uh-huh.
um, my parents' upbringing. I'll specifically go to my mom's because it's similar to yours. She started off in Louisiana, if I remember right. And she's gone through 20 states by the time she got into high school.
Dang, dude.
Her parents didn't have a job. They
Uh-huh.
went from church to church, trying to get food, and if the churches didn't have food, they didn't eat.
Really?
Her dad was an alcoholic that, whatever money he could scrap up, and he would paint just because that's like, I guess, an easy trade that he can do, I guess. But
Mm-hmm.
um, when he could, he would paint, but a lot of that money would go to alcohol, cigarettes, all that kind of stuff. And
Uh-huh.
again, if they didn't get food from churches, whatever they didn't eat that day,
Yeah.
um, there was social dynamics in the family that aren't super comfortable for everybody to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And there were 10 kids. It's down only a few now, but um, they watched their sister drown at one point. Um, other like I mentioned, the other social things, and then just the instability of going through all those states. So I bring that up. I talk about different personalities need different things. So like
Mm.
you said, you're introverted, and that it for sure shaped you, right? And my upbringing, everybody's upbringing shapes them.
Yeah.
My mom's personality, she's an extrovert,
Mm.
and she didn't let. So I'm sure it shaped her, but she didn't let it like put her down. She became. She moved up in like the banking world, not like not like the media, like where you're big data or big finance or whatever. But she's just a local banker, right? And she became a manager pretty early on, and she had a pretty successful career being like a bank manager.
Uh-huh.
But it used to be where they couldn't rub, when she was in like just before high school, she couldn't rub two pennies together. Like they would in Washington State. That's where my parents met. They would go out and pick cherries or other crop, to try to make a buck, and you don't make much doing that.
Yeah.
I think a few people know that, but
Yeah.
you really don't make much. But they would do whatever they could, to get ahead, and then it didn't stop them. One of my uncles, I'll leave his name out, but he again started from like nothing. He left their situation a little bit earlier because he's older.
Mm.
But he wound up, working his way up through construction and became like part owner, at some point. And now he's multi millions, right? He has a convertible. I don't know what he has now. He seems like he changes every year, but like a convertible Bentley, right? Like
Yeah.
he's got a peacock. He's got a flash to show everybody, hey, I made it.
Yeah.
May not be the healthiest thing, but he's very proud of where he came from and like what he has now.
Yeah.
And that's same upbringing, right? So everybody's gonna be a little bit different.
Mhm.
I don't know. I guess what kind of guidance, if any, his parents gave him versus like my mom or their brothers or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Talking about the, I'll never forget. We were talking about the hose.
Yeah.
In the summertime, I will never forget one time just blasted me, and I knew it was coming too because I turned it on. I'm just ready for it, and I felt all the hot fumes come at me. I'm like, oh wait, and then it just gets me,
Uh-huh.
and I can smell all the chemicals. Man, that's something that most kids nowadays are never gonna experience.
Oh, yeah.
Probably a good thing, but
Yeah. Yeah. So okay, what do you think? What do you think about? What do you think about women men and women's sports, vice versa. What's your opinion on that?
I think that if it's mutually agreed upon, have at it. If we want to have a unisex wrestling league, okay, great. If everybody subscribes to that, but if it's something where the side that might have a weakness because the other, so if women are generally not as strong as men, which is clear as day, that's the case, science, right? They're not as strong as men, and it's a powerlifting competition. Women aren't anywhere close to where men are at with that, right? It's similar to like weight ranges in different sports like wrestling or height differences, which kind of goes into weight. But if it's universally agreed upon for X sport, great, how about it? I would think something like maybe skiing or snowboarding might be a little bit more even playing field than like strongman competition. It's called strongman for a reason. There's no way a woman will ever come close to that, right? Now for the societal issues that we've had recently with men that identify as women and they make it into whatever sport. So we talked about the swimming recently, right? Somebody didn't get a gold medal because of a man identifying as a woman, and he just crushes the gold medal, right? And they just crush this and that. When it's a really physical, when it's less about dexterity and more about just raw power, the men are going to win.
Yeah.
99 times out of 100.
Yeah. It's crazy. I'll never forget the Olympics when I think it was the last Olympics.
Yeah.
And there's the scene, you probably saw it, where they were doing the Last Supper, but they were like mocking it.
Oh yeah.
Dude, I was like,
yeah, it's weird, and
gosh,
that gets like politics into entertainment and sports, like whether you agree with it or not.
Yeah.
Politics and statements about sexuality and all this kind of stuff. It shouldn't be in these things.
Especially the Olympics. Dude.
The Olympics. It's supposed to bring the world together to do these different sports.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be like a fun tournament.
Yeah.
Right? It shouldn't be. Here's the tournament that we're going to compete in. One of these we're low key cheating because we're the wrong sex in the tournament, but whoever, I don't know how the Olympics is ran, but whoever runs it just allows that. Like that's not fair to any country, not just that woman that lost. That's not fair to anybody in that situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your favorite Olympic sport?
Dude, I'm not gonna lie, gymnastics.
Gymnastics is pretty fun to watch.
So I never really watched the Olympics before.
Yeah.
Until this last one. Dude, gymnastics it's fun to watch.
So which one specifically? Because
we watched the whole one. Oh, like which event?
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
I don't know what they're all.
I don't know what they're called, but
what
I would probably say, when they're walking on the thing, that like with their that like. The bar thing they're walking on, with their
they can like bounce off it and stuff.
They have to balance on the thing. That's pretty cool to watch.
Or
the jump flip thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what this is called.
I mean, it is what it is. I don't think everybody else knows what it's called either. But the one where they're like on the horse and they're just spinning in circles, like their feet are just like a helicopter on the horse. And like random, like it was definitely interesting to watch this year. Mine used to always be, I think it's curling, where they push the weight and they try to get it, wherever the target is or whatever. I don't even know how it works.
Yeah.
And then, what's called, is it luge? Where they're like, they lay down on the cart and they're flying down like these ice tunnels. That's always kind of cool to me.
Yeah.
So wild.
Yeah, I like the gymnastics, and swimming's fun to watch too.
Yeah.
Just because the USA...
You remember did you watch Michael Phelps back in...
Yeah.
That was like... And see, that's getting back to like it's your country, you're rooting for your country, and then
Yeah.
you just have some bullshit come in and just like literally steal the gold, right? But in the Michael Phelps days, as an American, it
Ooh.
brought everybody together.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, hell yeah, we're killing it, right? And I think anybody in any other country that's got golds, and especially a lot of golds, that's just something that it's a fun time to be in.
Yeah, like so her name's Simon Biles. She's like the best Olympic gymnastics I think in history, and she just did she was in the last gymnastics event, and she killed it. Like she got a gold, and the USA killed it.
That's the black gal, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
she's dating.
I
the dude-
remember like when she first got in, she was really young when she got into it, and she was like, she's been killing it like forever.
Yeah, she's like the greatest of all time. My
Yeah.
wife tells me, but okay. So what do you think about participation trophies?
Have you ever gotten any?
I don't think so.
Were you in sports growing up as a kid at all?
I did baseball.
Okay, so when you were how old were you,
I was
or
young,
what grade?
and I did a little bit of like bull riding, but that was like young.
So did you get the participation trophies when you played those games?
No, I don't think so, dude. I think I got a lot of third place, last place.
So when I grew up, I lived in Stockton, California,
Uh-huh.
and if anybody's from around that area, back in the old days, there's this place called Hammer Skate, and after baseball games,
Sean grew up in the hood.
I mean, I lived right off of Kelly Drive, so my fence was definitely on the hood. But so after these baseball games, right? Everybody meet up, hammer skate. Then the coaches, give out these trophies, this and that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, we're getting trophies. But like the other team also shows up, and it's supposed to be like bombing, whatever, right?
Mm.
The other team shows up, and they also get trophies. And I remember being young, and I'm like, why are they getting trophies if we're getting trophies? Or we lost, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why are we getting trophies if we lost? It really takes the value out of the competition, out of the perseverance, out of the winning.
Uh-huh.
You won for a reason, and you should get the trophy. Basically saying that, but
Mm-hmm.
we got these participation trophies that just. I'm not sure if every kid felt the same. Probably not, but you get these participation trophies that mean nothing. Like if you truly think about it, when you're going through it, they really don't mean it. They mean that it means that you were there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember I was like 8, 10, somewhere in there. I'm like, this is kind of dumb. I'm loving this pizza and slushies from Hammer Skate, right? The skating rink, arcade, all that. But this trophy, like, I don't care about this trophy.
Mm-hmm. So, what do you think? There's a certain age where it's acceptable. Do you think it should just never happen?
I mean, when you ever watch kids play soccer when they're like 4?
Dude, okay, let me tell you. All right, so my son's first sport was soccer.
Awesome.
Okay, because my wife, she did soccer, and that was like her thing. She was good at it. She did it for years, and she did volleyball too. So she's like, oh, let's have him do soccer for a sport. So we signed him up for the city league. Dude, I kid you not, bro. This kid was out there picking flowers in the grass. Like, and then, dude, he was sitting on the grass. He'd sit down and like
My favorite is
oh my gosh, bro.
and this happens so much, but when one of the kids get the ball and they just start kicking it and running,
Oh.
and sometimes they're not even going at the goal, they're just going, right? Then now they're off the field, if there's room for it out there. Now they're off the field and they just keep going. So now like the parent and the coach, hey, you gotta come back here.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when there's people chasing them, it's like they're on the hunt, right? They're just locked in and they keep going.
Yeah, yeah.
I always thought that was the funniest thing. But yeah, participation. I think the idea behind it is like, you're getting competition. You're promoting competition is a good thing. You're promoting, hey, you're actually trying, right? You're trying to learn. You're trying to team build, all this kind of stuff. You're trying to teach that to the kids, as young as you can.
Uh-huh.
But for giving out trophies, No, I don't think, I think for, I don't know what the age range would be where it goes from just like kind of nobody gets trophies and it's just a fun environment to
Mm.
when the trophy should start. No idea.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure psychologically there's something that could be said there, but um, going from the team building to actual trophies, if trophies are ever given, it should be given to the winners, and the losers should feel like they lost.
Uh-huh.
They should feel like, maybe I shouldn't go pick those flowers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I should try to throw the ball harder or straighter or
Uh-huh.
whatever, right? That
Yeah.
that that teaches valuable lessons. I mean, at work, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you go through a task in your job
Yeah.
and you have, let's say, extra screws and nuts from a motor change, which definitely never happens.
It's never
Right?
happened before.
But so you have those things, and that teaches you, I should probably pay attention to X, Y, and Z next time, right? Kind of same thing
Yeah.
for the sports.
Yeah. It's never happened.
Never laughed so hard in my life. I mean, it happens ever. If you're in trade, you do some goofy stuff, and you're like, well, I shouldn't have had this extra thing, but we're just going to throw that away now.
Every day is Okie rigged. Duct tape.
Duct tape, and bubble gum.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. I don't know. It's tough. I do think there should be.
How dare you disagree with me?
I do think you definitely should cut it off like young, but I think younger kids because like in the league he's in, they're not they're just playing for fun. There's no like championship playoffs, all that stuff. So they kind of like they get a trophy at the end. It's kind of like a I guess a reward for like playing in the sport and stuff. But I think when they get older, kind of like I don't know, maybe 8 or so. Like yeah, you got to cut that off. Like it's gonna be hard. That first season. Like I can already see it now. Like there's gonna probably be tears if you don't get a trophy, but that's good. Like try. Your team needs to try harder next year. You need to learn something better.
Yeah, and maybe
know?
maybe that started with. I'm just gonna direct it towards women. Don't hate women, love them. Right?
Oh, there we
But,
go.
but hey, maybe Karen's kids were crying, because they didn't get participation trophies back in the day.
Yeah.
So they're like, hey, coach, maybe we should start this up because it'll make everybody feel better. And maybe there's some validity to giving out trophies to kind of keep engagement, which I'm sure there is some, extent of that. But
Sure.
when it comes to using it as a tool so they can learn from their mistakes. If you give out trophies for everything, the mistakes aren't as important.
Well, it's like you said. It's you're teaching them real world lessons.
Yeah, so, maybe another example is, there's a homeless man that lives next to a river, and you just bring him food every day, right? So he's getting food every day, he's chilling, he's good, but, and that's kind of the giving him the awards. But if you make him learn through the struggles and say, hey, you can do this thing that will get you results by giving him a fishing rod, and so you can find worms in the ground, and now you can fish your own fish. So now he's going to learn to develop a skill. He's going to learn confidence. He's going to learn his limitations, etc. I mean, there's probably many different ways to look at this, but overall, participation trophies, I think, is a big no for me.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that for the most part. I think that's huge in sports competition, and it is interesting how you brought up the caring thing. Like, where this whole idea of like, equalism and all that stuff come from? Well, like you probably said, it came from my mom or crying.
Well, I mean, we're also.
Like
I know men aren't gonna do that. if my kid's crying because another kid got a trophy,
I don't know, man.
son,
dude.
it sucks. We got to practice more now. Daddy doesn't get to sit there on TV and with his beer, right? We got to go throw the ball now or more.
Yeah.
But you get the trophy for winning, and to win, you have to be better than the other people.
Okay, let me ask you this, and it's probably be hard for you to answer. So, when my son got hit by the baseball, and I reacted strongly, firmly, and I would say like letting him know, like, tough up. There was a second or two where I was like, shit, damn, like all these parents and everybody around just saw this happen. How are they gonna judge me for how? Yes, I don't give I don't care. Like, I don't care what you think about. But there is a
Whose monster of a dad is that bad?
But there is a because of society and how I guess men are viewed now. Like, there is a moment like if I don't want to like
You know
what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying. So, again, don't have kids, but we got the pups, right, at the dog park. And ever since we got the pups, just for the audience, they're like 60% pit bull, a few different like lab variations, or not lab, shepherd variations in there. Um, Ever since I got them when they were young, one of them would always they'd play rough, right? But one of them would always, when she grabs, she latches and then she just shakes and thrashes. And I've seen the really bad side of pits growing up. That's a whole other topic, like the upbringing of pits, right, or dogs. But it's really the owner, but mostly. But seeing my pup do that early on, I'm like, okay, that's something we gotta stop, right? Because that could be the difference where somebody could get really hurt or not. And so bringing it to the other night, with the wife, was at the dog park, dogs were playing, and my dog was doing that again, but like really not like aggressive, like she's trying to hurt them, but she was playing. But it's literally the throat, and she's just like shaking, right? Like, I think that's, I don't know. We'll get into dogs maybe deeper on another day, but I corrected it. I didn't have the sound, vibration, or shock collar on, so I corrected it by spanking her butt once. I'm a big dude. It made a sound because it connected well, right? It was definitely firm, but it wasn't like I'm trying to kill the dog. It was like, hey, you got to stop that now.
Yeah.
It had to be in the moment, because if you correct dogs after the fact, they may not know what you're giving them discipline for, right? So it had to be in the moment. So I spanked her butt. My wife is looking at me like I'm an asshole. Everybody in the area is like, 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 oh my god. And I'll say everybody also comments on how well behaved my dogs usually are. I mean, you give the dog structure, they thrive for structure, and they get correction either from other dogs or from people.
Yeah.
If I can prevent my dog from maybe causing some serious thing later down the road, that's what I'm going to try to do.
Yeah.
I'm not a dog expert. I feel like I'm pretty good with dogs, but my dogs are pretty damn well trained compared to other dogs I've seen.
Yeah.
So getting back to your question.
Yeah.
You're being the asshole in the crowd. You're being that dad.
Sure.
Get up, you blank.
Yeah.
Which hopefully we don't do that nowadays. But I did the same kind of a thing. Not quite the same, but there's surrounding people that look at it as an overcorrection or being too harsh, and that's our society is getting too soft. I mean, sometimes you need to give it to it in a firm manner to where they understand, hey, here's what that line is, right? So for you don't want the kid to cry and all this stuff, and I think I would agree with you. Of course, are they hurt, right? It says that quick, but when you just instantly go to, oh, are you okay, honey, and all this kind of stuff, they're always going to cry. They're always going to want that attention, and I think it's safe to say most of the time they don't need that attention.
Yeah.
Like when I saw my nephews grow up as they're little, when they fall down and all this stuff, and I go, oh, that was funny, huh? Or something like that to take the attention off. Is the kid going to get attention from an adult because something like that happened? They feel a certain way. But if you go, oh, ha ha ha, that was funny, or oh wow, go grab that real quick, or something like that, take the attention off of this catastrophic thing that happened to them, they instantly, look or think about something else, and they're good. They don't need to cry for 5 minutes and get all this attention and giving them love and all this kind of stuff, I'm sure is some kind of benefit. But them being
Yeah.
independent and understanding that they're okay
Yeah.
probably has a lot to be said too.
Yeah, and I really like what you said about, how well like trained your dogs are. I mean, we're doing a podcast right now, and I haven't heard your dogs at all like, this whole time. Like, that's really good, dude.
They needed to go potty, but other than that,
Yeah, that like this is crazy.
and it's not like they're not pacified to where they can't play. And
Yeah.
here, would say go to bed while we're on the podcast, waiting for my wife to wake up. But they're wild when they play. They're crazy.
Yeah.
Right? They when they play, they play. When they chill, they chill. But in general, they don't jump on people. And if they are doing that kind of stuff, I am in different ways correcting them. Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Currently, right now, the dogs are more family than just like a working dog, right? I grew up with, we had a couple dogs in the family. They were more to be the dog, right? They weren't like a family member. They did hunt with us, right? So they were a working dog, Springer Spaniel, love them to death, but
Yeah.
it had good connection with them, but it's not the same as these dogs. These dogs are more like family and that kind of stuff. And that's maybe just my family specifically. That was kind of the traditional mentality coming from my dad, because his dad and family hunted, and that's just, that was how it was. But I know that's not for everybody's,
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, it's so like like just yesterday. So we had a contractor over at our house, like because we're renting our house, and basically he's like moving. We're getting a new oven and all this stuff, and so he gets there, and I'm sleeping because I work graveyard, and I wake up. My wife's she's handling it. Like the kids are in the living room. He's in the kitchen, and he's doing all his work, and he's telling me, oh, I feel really bad. Like I wanted to come. I wanted to come on your day off. I was like, oh, dude, like I can do anything. And like I started talking to him, kind of getting to know him. He was a really awesome guy to talk to. And he's like telling me like, yeah, man, like you're really like your kids are amazing. Like, and I have to like talk my kids up, but he's like, dude, your kids are amazing. Like, I go to so many houses and the kids are like going through my tool bag, they're crying, they're screaming. He's like I'm sitting here like your family's beautiful. Like your kids are playing Legos right here on the ground. And I'm like, it was nice to hear. I was like, because I kind of I did like kind of talk to them like my son. Like I said, hey, like we're gonna like I prepared him. I'm like, hey, we're gonna have some come over tomorrow. You need to be good. Listen to your mom. And it's just like, it made me proud because it's like, okay, yeah, like being stern, maybe I am doing the right thing, and seeing his reaction because he was like, yeah, like because he said he was 39, I think. And he has a 6-year-old now, and he already has like a daughter. I think she's 17 or something. And he was telling me his whole life story and everything. So it was just cool to listen to like what he had to say, because he said like he goes to houses every day and he deals with families every day. He's like, yeah, dude, like your kids are like calm, no. So it was cool. It was like it kind of reassured, like yeah, like kind of like the whole baseball thing. Okay.
So you got some validation.
Yeah, and.
I've only been to your house, a couple times, handful of times, whatever. And just saw your kiddos the other day, and I would say that they're definitely some kind of independent. They definitely love to spread the love and their joy of what excites them. And they're definitely, I can see that they are loved themselves. Like your girl is cheesing, most of the time. Like, she's happy to be there.
Yeah.
But I think everybody has experienced this, right? You go out to a restaurant, and you're eating, and somebody's kid runs alongside. Okay, that's kind of cute, like first time, but then the parents just kind of like allow it, right? That's insane to me, and I don't have kids, so everybody can judge me on whatever I say right now.
You're wrong.
You don't know how hard it is to raise kids, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you're going out to a place and you're trying to eat, and you have somebody's kid spill your drink on your table or grab your fork from you or something ridiculous like that. Like, you need to check your kids. You need to put them in their place to understand that's not okay. It's like a, you know, I keep on going to dogs because I have dogs, but it's like you introduce a dog to the pack, right? And this dog is like, hey, I'm going to be alpha. I'm going to be the top dog. But then there's the real alpha there that checks him's like, no, you're not. Like, you need to fit in, or you need to get out, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, kind of random, but I don't know why I'm thinking about this right now. What's your opinion on people who have weddings where kids are not allowed? What do you think about that? I don't know why. What do you think?
so the people are getting married and they say no kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
This wedding is not
man,
happening.
this is gonna get too deep. No, I mean it's up to the people that are getting married.
Well, yes, but what do you think about it? Like, if you get a wedding invitation and it says no kids allowed,
so you're saying I can't bring my puppies?
what do you think? What do you?
I mean, I think it's fine. I think for the people getting married, so basically getting married is a ceremony to tell everybody, hey, we're gonna join. We're getting married.
Yeah.
We want all of you to come recognize that we're getting married, and we want to celebrate. So we're gonna pay for you guys to come celebrate. Hopefully, we get gifts, right? Like, that's like the tradition now, right?
Yeah.
And that's not what we did. My mother-in-law, I forget what it's called, but she did whatever she did to speak at her. I forget what it's called, but she spoke whatever needs to be said in between both of us, to where she basically married us, right? And we eloped. We went to a beach, and we just kind of did like a really private thing.
Yeah.
Financially, we had money to have a wedding, but we chose to put it towards a house, right? And we didn't mind not seeing everybody, which both families, it's a little bit different dynamics, right? There's people that you may or may not want to see, and it's not about, to us, it's not about the other people. I could care less about, it's not that I could care less, but I didn't need the other people there to get married. And I can't believe the ceremony, talking about like men being emotional or whatever, that was definitely something. Going through that.
Yeah.
But going into debt to get married is insane, but people feel like they have to do that.
Yeah.
And hey, kids are part, so if we're talking about guest lists, right? So if kids are going to be part of that, that's more financial burden on top of the people getting married.
Yeah.
That's risk because there's alcohol, all that kind of stuff. I don't think you need, you have to say kids are allowed for sure, but I'm not the traditional way of thinking about marriage. I guess maybe give your opinion, but I'm very non-traditional when it comes to that.
Yeah, I mean, so I got married probably, we kind of just had a shotgun wedding at the courthouse, looking back, and I think we will do a wedding, for sure, but going broke, or to me it's crazy, my buddy, his daughter's gonna have the sweet 16 or 15 concealed thing. Dude, they spend thousands on these things, these ceremonies. And it's supposed to be where the uncle or one party, someone in the family will pitch in, one will take care of the alcohol, one will take care of the food, yada yada. It's just why? It's buy your kid give him a car or something. This is gonna last more than one night.
If your kid is in that culture,
yeah,
right. So I think that's generally a Mexican thing, right?
Yeah.
So if you're in that culture, which maybe not, Mexican is, but
yeah,
if you actually practice that, or let's say your friends practice that, you're close with your friends, so they get a sweet 16, but you don't. Now you're, how are they going to judge you? Your family's poor. Honestly, I could definitely see some negative psychological things for at least a little bit, maybe a few years, because they didn't get that. Maybe if they don't get their sweet 16, or even a luxurious enough sweet 16 with that, which that's clear as day. You see that on social media.
Yeah.
It's not, people throwing $100 bills out every, as they're walking down the thing. It's not good enough.
Yeah.
I mean, I was happy to have a birthday, and when I grew up, I felt bad my parents buying me a birthday present. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's every kid's feeling, but I literally, that's not because we were like poor, but it's just like, well, I had fun doing this thing. I don't necessarily need the gift. And like other family members are getting gifts, but
Mm-hmm.
like my parents, I just didn't always feel okay with them like spending money on a thing. Like PlayStation 2 came out. I was stoked about that. And
Yeah.
I think I helped pay for that or something, but yeah, I'm going off topic. But yeah, Sweet 16s. I mean, if you're damned if you do, kind of. I think for the family dynamic.
Yeah.
To some extent, especially financially, but you're damned if you don't, because then I think there's more of a social detriment that happens without it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So the whole wedding thing, it's just like, and the Sweet 16 thing, I'm with you on this. I have a ceremony, have something special. Like for me, I wish I would have did something like have my, because I think it's important to have two families join together. I do think that's important.
Mhm.
Like her family comes to you. So like I wish we would have did that, and I think it would have solidified things better. Not that I don't have a good relationship with my wife's family or anything. It's not. That's not what I'm saying. It's just at the time, because yeah, I think it's better. But like spending thousands of dollars on a wedding, I think it's ridiculous, dude.
I mean,
I mean,
it could have been a catalyst event where people had the aha, let me open up to this person, right? But I don't know, if people are going to open up, they're going to open up on their own terms, and that kind of a thing isn't necessarily, especially with alcohol and stuff, that's probably not if there's bad blood, generally not the best
yeah,
situation.
yeah. I mean, weddings get pretty crazy. Sure, I've been to a few crazy weddings with alcohol. And, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to say the wedding it was, but I remember being like how old was I? I guess I was around 20 or so. I forget now, but old enough to know, there are women in the world, right? So, the wedding was happening. There's for sure alcohol. It's on like a golf course and um, golf course like country club thing, and people are missing. Oh no, where are the people at? And then people go look for them, and they're like
Mm.
on a green, handle the business. And it's like,
Yeah.
some wild stuff can happen, and your kids can also go. I mean, if I don't know, to each their own, but kids could potentially wind up missing in the same scenario. Like they're
Yeah.
not, if they're not on the dance floor, they're not eating their food, or they're in the bathroom, or like I don't know. Every parent's gonna watch their kid different, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think. I think I would have kids at my wedding. I'm gonna be honest with you. If I get an invitation that says no kids, it does tick me off. I don't know why. It ticks me off. I'm just like, come on, dude. Let the kids be there. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
So who should the burden be on, you or the people getting married?
Well, I mean,
Because if
I
the kids aren't
look.
allowed, now the burden's on you to figure that out.
Look, all right, they're kids. Let them be kids.
Yeah.
Look, I know I get what you're saying, like alcohol and.
Well, it's not all negative. Like seeing that kind of
To me,
ceremony
okay,
and stuff
to
is important too.
I'm gonna be judgmental on this. If I get the invitation where it says no kids allowed, I understand, but like part of me just feels like, okay, I see like what you kind of feel about kids type thing, and maybe I'm just being ridiculously judgmental. I don't know, because I mean, like,
Is this a recent event? Did you
No.
just get the invitation? And,
no, but I'm just saying, dude. Like, so me and Katie, my wife, we went to an anniversary dinner, our last anniversary, a really fancy restaurant, and really they don't let kids like be there, but I get it. Like the atmosphere, it's the right like the atmosphere is to come, and it's like a really romantic thing and all that stuff.
Mhm.
But for me, like weddings is like I said, joining a family, and kids are a part of the family.
Have you been on a cruise before?
I have not. Yes, I know it's probably crazy.
So here we
I don't
go.
know if I've never
Here we
gone
go.
on one.
So we've gone on a couple.
Uh huh.
The first cruise we've gone on, it wasn't so the ship was bigger and there's more space for people to be in areas, right?
Mm-hmm.
So wherever you are, generally it's not going to be super dense. We didn't really notice kids on that ship or on that cruise. Like sure we saw them, but we didn't like notice them as much.
Mm-hmm.
The second cruise, ship was smaller, and there's only a couple places that like everybody kind of gathered at, right? So now it's like, oh shit, there's kids everywhere. There's like a little ice cream machine that they're like basically a permanent line with kids just getting the ice cream and just tearing it up, like
Yeah.
they're and um, kids were doorbell, which they could have done this in the first ship, but I didn't hear of anything. But they were like doorbell ditching people's rooms in the middle of the night. And so like to a point where the cruise ship had to like announce to everybody like,
What?
stop.
Really?
Yeah. And then there's other cruises that we haven't been on, but there's like I think there's like a rave cruise, which I think would be only adults. I think there's even like a nudist cruise or something, or nudist, but people.
That's
like,
the cruise.
let's not, I was gonna say it sounds more like a swinger cruise, but yeah. But yeah, so like if you were going to cruise, you I'm sure would if you were wanting to make an experience for your family. Of course, you want to bring the kids, right?
Disney.
Sure. But if you are going just with your wife, do you want to go on the cruise where there's other kids? Do you want to go on the cruise where it's just adults?
If I'm going with just my wife, I want to go on a cruise with just adults.
Yeah, and we kind of learned that last time. Next time if we do a cruise again, it really needs to be fitting to what we're wanting to get out of it.
Yeah. I mean, but the difference is, I get your point, but the difference is you go on a cruise, it's like going on a vacation, it's a sacred time with you, especially if it's just you and your wife.
The garage door is good.
Sean's got a garage door now. But anyways, so the cruise is like a sacred time for you and your wife, and like, I don't know about you, well, probably not so much you, I don't know. But for me and my wife, we don't get much alone time. It's not that often. We go out on like dates, and we probably should do it more often. But so I think that's why you would do a cruise with just adults, because it's more sacred, quiet, and you can really focus on each other. But a wedding, come on, bro. If it's one night, stop.
Yeah, I don't know.
I get your point. I understand, but I feel like that's just two totally different things. Yeah. I mean, I just didn't go on that nude one, dude.
Weddings. I don't know. I mainly see them as financial burdens. I mean, it's just basically saying, "Hey, everybody, we're getting married," but like, you can also just tell everybody, like, it doesn't necessarily have to be some ceremonial thing. I mean, what if instead of the wedding, like, it's more of just like a reception where everybody kind of pays their own thing, and you meet up at a cruise or some location where it's like everybody actually gets something out of it, and not just they're there to be there, and then you have to pay for them to be there. Like, it's just nowadays, like, I don't think it's as viable. It's just financially, it's really not, unless you're like really well off.
Yeah.
Or go into debt.
Yeah.
There's literally a show. I forgot what the show's called, but they decide between a free. I forget the actual premise, but they're basically picking between a home or a wedding, right? So who in the right mind would go for, we're going to call it the dream wedding, right? Even for the male, it's the dream wedding over like a house.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
Insane. But there's people with the exact opposite stance.
Dude, I would take a house any day, every day, over a glamorous wedding.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, I don't know if it's because I'm not some rich guy, but yeah, dude, no way.
Yeah.
But anyways, this is a good podcast. It's good.
Yeah, no, went over a lot of stuff. I think we'll call it for today. Thanks everybody.
Thank you.